Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever or wherever you're listening to this or watching this. This is the Awesemo Nhl Dfs strategy show, and I am your host for today, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. Riding shotgun on this journey today is the Clyde to my Bonnie, the Butch Cassidy to my Sundance Kid, the Jesse Pinkman to my Walter White, Mr. Josh Harris. Josh, how are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Got crushed last night again, but today is another day.
Yeah, last night, I'll echo your sentiments there. Wasn't a very good night for me. Got back about half my entries, which I think, all things considered, probably not too bad. I was pretty high on Chicago. Chicago did well. I just had the wrong secondary stacks with them. So tonight is another night. It's the Columbus Blue Jackets, man. Like we talk about them often on this show. They look very much fraudulent to me. Maybe some of the goals against is a little out of whack because of poor goaltending, but they don't look very good, man.
No, I mean, their numbers aren't that great. I mean, maybe Lankinen has come back to earth, but like, I even had Kubalik as a one-off in my lineup, and I still couldn't do anything. Vancouver too was okay early, but they kind of cooled off and then blew a 3-0 lead, and I used Demko, so that ended that.
Yeah. The winner of the 20 max last night had Draisaitl and McDavid with Columbus 1, plus a bunch of cheap guys, 2,500 Dylan Cousins, 2,800 Adam Bogfist, 2,700 Eric Brandstrom. I mean, Columbus 1 probably could have scored a couple goals in overtime. They had their chances. It could have been an even higher score. So that Columbus top line, certainly since Patrick Laine has arrived, has looked pretty good. Vancouver, man, they honestly, like, as far as, like, they didn't get blown out last night, but I think it's just another poor defensive performance, and I don't see any hope for them moving forward unless their forwards kind of go nuclear, because it doesn't look like their defensemen are going to pull them through.
Yeah, and then you give up the game-winning goal to Tyler Ennis is just pack it up and go to the ECHL or something.
Yeah, that was that wasn't the way they wanted to finish that game, that's for sure. Before we get everything rolling here, if you could, please hit us with a like and a subscribe. It'll help us not only grow the channel, but get us to the top of the algorithm and all that good stuff. So if you could, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification button if you want to know whenever we're going to get on the air, so you don't have to keep checking your phone all the time. All right, let's jump right into this slate. Let's jump into our first game of the night. We have the New York Rangers, a 2.7 implied goal total, going into Philadelphia with the Flyers carrying a 2.9 implied goal total. Those have stayed pretty constant all through the day, so there hasn't been a lot of movement. Artemi Panarin obviously out for the Rangers tonight. He's dealing with some off-ice issues, which we're not going to get into them now, but let's just say it kind of looks bogus, but we obviously don't know the whole story yet, so we'll just let that play itself out. Claude Giroux is back for the Flyers. It looks like he'll be slotting in on the second line with Kevin Hayes. With Panarin out and the Flyers still kind of dinged up, they don't have their full complement back yet. Jakub Voracek is still out, and so on and so forth. What do you like out of this game? Like, is there some sneaky value here on the Rangers? Because I think, for me, with how poorly they've done offensively this year, and Panarin's out and all that, like, I could see some low ownership coming in on the Rangers tonight. Is there a sneaky spot that you like on their side, or is this all about the Flyers?
Yeah, I'm a Rangers fan, and this is just tough to watch, And, like, I've been on the Mika Zibanejad train all season, and my bank account is just going, wee! But, like, this is a spot where it's kind of not a good spot for him. I mean, he's going to get the Couturier line with JVR and Farabee. I mean, that's not the normal top line, but Couturier, hard matching Zibanejad, it kind of takes Zibanejad off the table. If you still want to get tricky and power play stack the Rangers, I think it's an okay spot. I mean, I don't really like doing that. I mean, they're so cheap. Like that's the only thing. Like the Rangers' top power play is so cheap. Zibanejad's the most expensive at 5,900. The second line of the Rangers is fully correlated on the power play. Kreider, Strome, Blackwell. Which, like, if you told me Colin Blackwell is going to be on the top power play at the start of the season, I would have laughed you out of the building. But like, here we are, 2,800 Colin Blackwell, and arguably he's been their best forward outside of Panarin and Buchnevich, which is crazy. Just put the C on him already. Like, just do it. Like, yeah. So if in MME, like this is tough for like 1 to 3 lineups. Like, I don't really want to use the Couturier line just because they're probably going to see, the Zibanejad line isn't great defensively, especially with Alexis Lafreniere there. But like, the only good defenseman is probably going to be on the ice with them, and Adam Fox. So I'd probably be underweight in MME on Flyers 1. Like, I definitely would still have some just because they're fully correlated. For me on the Flyers, like the second line is interesting to me because they're going to get the depth of the Rangers, the Strome line, or even the Brett Howden line. Like, it really doesn't matter like what depth line, as long as they're not getting like the Fox pairing. They could get the Keandre Miller pairing with Brendan Smith or Lieber Hayek with Anthony Bietto. Like, it's just a mess. So like, Flyers 2, it's just tricky because Drew's not on the power play. Like, you'd expect maybe, depending on how the game flow goes, he might see some power play time. Hayes is on power play 1, Nolan Patrick power play 2. Like, that line doesn't really jump off the board for me, but I probably have some Flyers 2 and MME. And then on the Rangers side, like that Strome, Blackwell, Kreider line is cheap enough, like, and they're fully correlated on power play 2, even though this isn't the best spot for them. Like, I wouldn't fault you for having a little bit on MME, but like this game as a whole, in 1 to 3 lineups or even 20 max, I want to be underweight on.
Yeah, this it is a really tough game, like with the matchups. And like you said, the pricing makes it hard to ignore, right? Like when you have a fully correlated second line on a 5-game slate, like it at that price, right? You can get them all for, like you said, at about $11,000. Like, it's really hard to ignore that Ranger second line. So like, I wouldn't begrudge anybody that wants to stack, that Ranger second line, Strome, Blackwell, Kreider, because, there are expensive lines later in the slate, or like Toronto and Colorado and so on and so forth. And you can put like a little, Blackwell, Strome, 2-man, or Blackwell, Kreider, something like that. Give you access to those expensive stacks. But like you said, they're missing a lot of players. They're missing their best forward. Like, I'm pretty out on the Rangers here tonight. I do have like some one-offs. Like, I do have some one-off Blackwell because he is so cheap with that power play. I do have, Keandre Miller. But that's about it. Like, I'm not really high on the Rangers here tonight, especially where we look at their ownership. Like, our ownership is probably going to get updated later, and we'll see what that looks like. But, we have Lafreniere and Buchnevich around 16%, with Zibanejad, around 20%. I'm not playing a 15% Lafreniere going into Sean Couturier. That's just not something that I've typically done over the years. So count me out on Rangers 1 completely. Rangers 2, like I said, if you want a 2-man or full stack to get access to the more expensive stacks that we'll talk about later, that's fine by me, but I'm not on them either. So for me, this is actually going to come down to I'm going to have a fair bit. Because we need to talk about the Flyers power play, right? Because Claude Giroux back means somebody off that top Flyers power play is probably coming off. Like, I would guess it's Joel Farabee. So that would give us 2 Flyers on the second line on the top power play unit. Like, I know it's Giroux's first game back in a while, but I can't see them leaving him off the top PP. So I'm assuming it's going to be Couturier, Van Riemsdyk, Hayes, and Giroux on the power play with Provorov. And that would bring Hayes, Giroux, and Nolan Patrick into play for me, especially where they're going to see the Strome and Blackwell line. They're going to see the Howden and Gauthier line. Like, they're going to avoid Adam Fox a fair bit at 5-on-5. So I do think that it portends a good matchup for Philly too. So I do like that Flyers second line quite a bit here today. And one thing to note too is that the Rangers are top 10 by penalties taken. So you probably want to get a piece of that Flyers power play one way or another. But I do want to mention the Flyers third line. Raffle, Obe Kubel, Connor Bunnaman. Bunnaman's nothing really special. But Raffle, I would say, is an above average offensive player. Like, he's definitely not great, but he has finishing ability. And Nicholas Aube-Kubel, like, I would say he's an average offensive player, but he's really good defensively. So whenever they're on the ice, like, they're going to be on against the third and fourth lines from the Rangers. That's a great matchup because that third line from the Rangers is god awful. So, like, I understand not wanting to like full stack a third line, and you don't really need to, but like I have some one-off Raffles, I have some one-off Aube-Kubels. I think I have a two-man Raffle Aube-Kubel somewhere. So don't be afraid. Like, if you want to get super expensive, like Colorado power play, Toronto one or whatever, don't be afraid of that Flyers third line, a little two-man or just a one-off, because they are so cheap. It'll help you get access to those more expensive players. All right, the defenseman Shane Gostisbehere, like, I couldn't believe how many minutes he actually played in their last game. He was at 21 minutes last game. I think that's like 6 straight games for him, over 20 minutes. I know it's PP2, but like, he is a pretty talented guy. Hasn't really put up points this year. Do you have any interest in Gostisbehere or any other defenseman here?
His price is a little expensive for me, 4,800. He hasn't been doing too much. If I'm going to go to the second power play, I think Travis Sanheim is the guy I want to do. 3,500 or 3,600, excuse me. I like his peripherals. He saved the 1,200. I wouldn't fault you if you have the salary for Ghost. I think that's fine. I just wouldn't force him in. I don't mind Felipe Myers either. I like that second pair for the Flyers. I think you can go there, but Ghost is not someone I'm going to force in, but if I have the leftover salary for that final spot, then yeah, definitely I put him in.
Yeah, Philippe Myers is also a guy I'm kind of gravitating to. He's, he'll play in the top 4. He'll get 20 minutes. So if you need to save money off Provorov quite a bit, don't mind Myers. Either of the goalies, I have some Elliott, just because I think there's actual shutout potential for him here tonight, and he's not expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, these goalies are tough. Like, if you want to play Igor too, like, I think that's fine just because the Rangers' defense is so bad that he's going to see so much volume. But, like, I'm kind of low on both these goalies tonight. It's just hard for me because, and it's a bad bias. I need to get over it. But, like, AV used to be the coach of the Rangers, and, like, he just does some dumb things too. So, like, it's just PTSD with these goalies, so I think I'm going to pass in my 1 to 3 lineups.
Okay, fair enough. Like I said, I do have some Elliott. I think it especially makes sense to correlate where he's not super expensive and he's only 7,600 over on DraftKings. All right, I think that's about it for this game. Unless you have something else you want to mention.
No.
You just want to stop talking about the Rangers, don't you?
Yes.
All right, we'll stop talking about the Rangers then. All right, our next game, one of the marquee games of the night, we have the Calgary Flames with a 3.0 implied goal total going into Toronto, and the Leafs are carrying a 3.5 implied goal total. Both those have come down through the day as the over-under has come down from 6.5 to 6. That doesn't mean I'm expecting depressed ownership here. There should be a lot of ownership across the board. We have both Matthews and Tavares over 20%. Matthews near 30. Marner right around 20. I feel pretty safe saying like those guys are all going to be 20% and above. Obviously they're really expensive, but Matthews is averaging 20 DraftKings points a night, which is just absolutely bonkers production. We just saw them get shut out the other night, but it's Big Save Dave again. Can he do it 2 nights in a row, Josh?
They don't call him Big Save Dave for nothing, but like they don't really. I don't know why they call him Big Save Dave, but like
me neither. He hasn't made a lot of them.
Yeah. So like the problem I'm having with the Leafs is not even like the Austin Matthews price. Like you can argue that maybe he's underpriced, but like, and I wrote him up. I did the best bets article today, and my bonus bet was Matthews over 1.5 points, and it was plus money. Like I didn't say like drop your entire bankroll on it, but like anytime you can get Matthews at plus money for a multi-point game, I think you got to take it. But like the problem I have here, I got a couple problems. Like Mitch Marner, 8,500. That's just a tough pill to swallow. I get it. Like, it's like if Matthews is going to score, Marner's probably going to get the assist. Like, it just takes up so much of your salary that you have to, and it's going to be so chalky that you're going to have to differentiate yourself somewhere else. And then like Zach Hyman, 4,900. Like, I definitely would rather play Zach Hyman than Joe Thornton, which like I'm just glad Thornton's not playing tonight because he was min priced in the DK algorithm. I would have lost my mind if he was playing. But yeah, so like I think you can go full Toronto 1. You just have to be aware of what you're doing. Like, there's going to be ownership. You have to differentiate yourself elsewhere. And I kind of wish that the Leafs kind of stayed with the loaded up power play, because Tavares is a winger on DK tonight. So if he was on power play 1, that could have made your power play stacks a little bit easier. So Tavares, like being a winger, makes that second line a little bit tougher to use. I'm not sure. Is Kerfoot a center on DK? That might actually.
Yes, he is.
Okay, so that takes care of that. So I feel like I hit this crossroads every time Matthews is playing. Like, he's the best player on the slate. He's going to score. Like, it's going to happen. So you play the whole line. Like, they're going into Lindholm, Mangiapane, Kachuk, which is like not the best matchup, but like the Matthews numbers are just incredible. So yeah, in MME, yeah, I think it's one of those things where, like I say all the time, you either have to be very underweight or very overweight. So like if he's getting 30% ownership, I don't mean like way over the field, like 85%, but you should be like 40, 45% if you want to go way over the field, or like 10, 15, 20% if you want to be way under. So I think it's a decision, even in any type of lineup, that you're going to have to make tonight, because Matthews is going to be the highest owned player on the slate tonight. It's not even going to be close. So, and it feels like putting in a single bullet Matthews is kind of like not really getting you anywhere, because even if he does break the slate, chances are if he has like a 5-point game like he did the other night, Marner is going to have the 3-point bonus, or Hyman's going to have the 3-point bonus. So like you're going to have to use the full line. So full line or bust for me on Toronto 1. Toronto 2 is interesting because they get the Monahan-Gaudreau pairing, which has not been good defensively. And Sam Bennett there doesn't really inspire much confidence. So I wouldn't fault you for going back there. Tavares at 6,800 is a bit expensive for me, especially for the production so far. But if you want to get a little bit lower ownership in a high ownership game, I think you can go to the Tavares Nylander mini. And if you need the center spot, you can go Kerfoot as well. I'm kind of on the Flame side. I'm kind of off them tonight from a 1 to 3 lineup perspective. It's probably going to be, Hutchinson is in net again, right? So like in MME, this is a good spot, I think. What worries me is the ownership, just because they were in the optimal lineup the last game, or the last time they played on Monday. So I'm probably going to be underweight. I wouldn't fault you at all for going Flames 1. They're fully correlated on the power play. I think if I was going to use a full line, it would be the second line, just because even though that their numbers aren't great defensively, neither are the Toronto second line. Like, they're not great. Like, they're not terrible, but they're not great either. So, and I honestly, I think I'm just going to be underweight in this game as a whole. I'm fading Matthews and Prang, but Toronto 1 for me, a little bit of Calgary 1, a little bit of Toronto 2. That's about it.
Okay, yeah. So the way I'm treating this tonight is most of my Toronto lineups are some variation of an onslaught. Like, I have a lot of like Matthews, Tavares, Kerfoot, Nylander, and Riley, or something like that, and then going with a super, super cheap bargain secondary stack, or like Matthews, Tavares, Kerfoot, Mikheyev, and Halls, and then I can fit in a more reasonable secondary stack. That's what I'm doing with Toronto here tonight. Is I'm going with more onslaught type builds, not necessarily full 6-mans, though I do have one of those, but more just mixing and matching out of the top 6, because I think you're right. Like, I can't see. I mean, maybe it happens. I mean, they just got shut out a couple nights ago, but it's hard for me to see Matthews being a solo in a winning GPP lineup, right? Like, if he goes off and he's in a winning GPP lineup, there's, like you said, there's a good chance Marner and Hyman or Riley or somebody else is going to go off along with them. So that's what I'm kind of doing. I think I have literally one Matthews one-off, and the rest of them are all in some sort of Toronto onslaught stack. So that's what I'm doing to get different with my Leafs tonight. You're right that the second line for the Leafs hasn't been very good defensively. They've been about league average. So I think, that Gaudreau, Monahan, Bennett line could do well, but that Gaudreau, Monahan, Bennett line has looked like pretty bad this year. I'll just flat out say it, 'cause trust me, I played them a lot. Like I know what I'm talking about on this one. And not only that, but we have them as way over owned. Like we have them as 7.6% top two stack on our top stacks tool versus a 13.4% ownership share, making them one of the worst leverage spots on the night. So like, if Sam Bennett's going to be 15% owned on the road, like I have no problem fading his line. Like that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. So I'm actually doing the same thing on both sides here. Is kind of two-man, or not two-man. I'm kind of onslaught stacking. Is like Lindholm, Kachuk, and Gojo, or Gojo and Monahan and Lindholm, or full top line plus Gojo or something like that. That's what I'm doing with both sides here, because I think you're right. I think you definitely want some Flames. Not a great matchup, but Hutchinson is not a good goalie. And they're without Jake Muzzin. Like Joe Thornton and Jake Muzzin out of the lineup. We can make fun of Joe Thornton, but Toronto One's defensive numbers with and without him this year are night and day. And Jake Muzzin is the best defensive defenseman on the team. So like, I don't want to say it's a good matchup for Calgary per se, but it's a lot better than it would be if Thornton and Muzzin were in the lineup. So I have no problem going to Calgary here. But I am going to make sure that I mix in a little bit of some guys from their top line, just because I am worried about that chalk. So that's just kind of those are my thoughts on those two sides. Want to remind everybody, Rasmus Andersson still power play 1 for Calgary, and Mikko Lehtinen. We should probably mention the power play units here, because with new players coming in, Toronto had fully stacked the top PP unit, but it is going to be different this game. It's going to be Mikko Lehtinen on 1 power play unit with Nylander, Tavares, Spezza, and Kerfoot. So full Toronto 2 plus Spezza and Lehtinen. And then the other power play unit is Marner, Matthews, and Hyman, what's expected to be full Toronto 1 plus Travis Boyd and Morgan Riley. So each of the Toronto lines have full power play correlation. I think that's probably going to bring me a little bit more to Toronto 2. And like you said, Kerfoot is the center, and it makes those stacking a little bit easier. It also brings Mikko Lehtinen into play for me. So for me on the Toronto blue line, it's either up to Morgan Riley in my AM 34 and my Marner stacks, or all the way down to Mikko Lehtinen in my JT, and places where I need to save some money. I'm probably not going to play much Brody or Hall. Like everybody was saying, play Travis Dermott last game, and he played 11 minutes. So like Lehtinen, Riley, Anderson, I think are the only 3 defensemen I have out of this game.
Yeah, I mean, Lehtinen min price power play 2. I think you got to take some shots, especially if you're using Toronto 2. And then if you really want to get spicy, you can put Big Save Dave back in the lineup. He's going to get the volume.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that is one thing I would say. Can he do it twice in a row? I would say probably not, but that doesn't mean definitely not. And it's, if he comes in 5% owned, he could be a GPP winning goalie yet again.
Goalies are streaky.
Yeah, he is streaky. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, luckily enough for all us sports fans, March is right around the corner, and that means March Madness. You were saying the other day that you like to bet on the March Madness when it rolls around, right?
Yeah, I'll dabble.
Yeah, I like to dabble as well. I won't go all in. I'll do a bracket, maybe bet some nice. But for anybody else that wants to do a little bit more than dabble, we have a college basketball promo running just in time for March Madness. Our college basketball DFS projections are now behind a paywall, and you can access those for half off the first week when you use promo code college. That's $4.98 for your first week of college basketball DFS at Awesemo.com. This offer is valid through Sunday, February 28th. That's Awesemo.com. promo code college for half off your first week of college basketball DFS projections. All right. Let's keep this train moving along. Another game that is of interest here. We might have some lineup problems with Arizona. And I say lineup problems. The only reason I say that is because they switched Clayton Keller off the top line last game. And then they made a big comeback, coming back from 3-0 to win 4-3. So I'm expecting that they'll stick with that line. And that means Drake Caggiula probably on the top line for Arizona. Along with Garland and Schmaltz, and then Keller down with Brassard and Kessel. Trevor Zegras, he showed up for Anaheim in their last game, still 2,700. He looked really good, even though he only played 13 minutes. Anaheim 2, Zegras, Steele, Silfverberg, fully correlated on the power play. I kind of like at least one line out of this game, maybe two. What do you see here, Josh?
So in the morning, I was like, oh, yeah, we're going back to Arizona 1. But Drake Caggiula moving up, if that sticks, is a bit wonky. I mean, like, Keller's not even on the top power play, and Caggiula is $2,800 cheaper, but, like, it's a big difference. Like, Keller's a really good player. Caggiula is Drake Caggiula. I feel like he's burned me so many times when he played with McDavid a few seasons ago. Like, he's a guy who I leave out, and he'll just get, like, a random, like, multi-point game. But, like, I think if I was going to go for Arizona here, it would be the Schmaltz-Garland combo with, you know, if you want to put in 6,000 Chychrun, like, I think you can for the power play 1. But, like, I don't think it's necessary. So, like, if I got confirmation that Keller is going to be back up there, but she probably won't be because of how they came back, I'd be more likely to use Arizona 1. So I'm kind of off the Yotes pending lines, which you don't really get. So I'm probably going to be underweight on the Yotes, but if I do see Keller's not back on the top line, I'll have some Arizona 1 for sure. I'll have some Chychrun. And then the Ducks kind of don't really confirm lines either, but the one line that is confirmed is the Zegras, Steele, and Silfverberg line, fully correlated power play. They're super cheap. They're under 10,000. They get the depth of the Yotes, which is not good. Zegras, he didn't play much, but he was on the power play the whole time. He's one of those guys who's a pass first type of guy. He's not a score first, but like his passing is incredible. Like if they actually get some scores around him, that power play is going to be really good with him. So I don't mind going back to this Duck second line if you need some pieces, like cheap pieces. If you're onslaughting the Leafs or you're using the Avs, something like that, you can put like a Zegras, Steele, Silfverberg, something like that. They're all on the power play. And this other line, this combo of Comtois and Ricard Raquel, they saw a big uptick in minutes. Like they're sitting around 14, 15 usually, but they got up 18, 19 minutes last game. I think you can definitely use Comtois, Raquel. If you don't want to use the center, that's fine. But for me, like I'm normally off the Ducks, but like just from a price point, like onslaughting these expensive stacks, you need to find some savings somewhere. And Anaheim 2 is fully correlated on power play. Comtois and Raquel are on the same power play. So I think there are definitely some options on the Ducks tonight just based off price.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I don't want to go to the Ducks. Like, that's just not something I'm really looking forward to doing. But like I said, Zegras looked really like Zegras might have played the best game of any Anaheim Duck in his first game so far this season, right? Like it's been a bad season for that team, other than John Gibson, I guess. But they're just so cheap. You can stack the entire line for under 10K. That gets you anything you want. It gets you full Colorado power play. It gets you any Toronto stack you want. It gets you it gets you where you need to go. And we know, like, at the very least, Steele and Silfverberg have played together and have shown some offensive chemistry. Great? No. Good enough? Against the middle of the Arizona lineup, I would say yes. So I'm really in on that Anaheim second line. Steele, Zegras, Silfverberg, all three or some combination, 2 of the 3, whatever. I have them in a lot of my expensive stacks like Colorado and Toronto and things like that. So I'm pretty in on that Anaheim second line. Like I've fully realized that, I'm probably going to be way, way, way overweight on them. It's just there aren't a ton of cheap spots that I like to go tonight. And there are a lot of expensive spots I like. And I honestly don't think the middle of that Arizona Coyotes lineup is anything to speak of. Like Brassard and Kessel have had pretty bad defensive numbers regardless of who they played with this year. And if Clayton Keller's with them, I don't suspect that'll help them at all. So like Anaheim 2 could actually have the run of play here tonight. Like that wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. I'm with you. Like I'd like to stack the Arizona top line, but like if Drake Caggiula is there, like then no, I don't. So like I don't want to stack like a 17 whatever K line and then have to mix and match with only 3 games to pick from and 2 games already behind us. And I'm trying to, it's just something I'm not looking forward to. So I'm fairly out on Arizona tonight. Like I'll have some one-offs. Like I think I have some one-off Dvorak. I have some one-off Goligoski, but that's pretty much it from Arizona. Anaheim, love their second line, in on John Gibson, Shattenkirk for that power play correlation. That's about where I'm at on this game. Like I don't think like that. The Ducks top line is going to get a good match. You know what I mean? Like Getzlaf and Terry going up against the third and fourth lines from against, sorry, not the top line for the Ducks, the third line for the Ducks. That, like you said, that Comtois line. They're going to be matching up probably against that Dvorak Pitlick Krause line, and they've been bad. So like I think Anaheim 2 and 3 are in play here tonight. Don't you think?
Yeah. And it's just painful. But like you have to. Like if you're using like these expensive onslaughts, like if you're power play stacking the Avs, you're kind of limiting yourself where you can go. And like the landing spots either really like the Ducks, the Kings, or you're going to some like really bad third or fourth line. So yeah, Ducks. Yeah. They're pretty, I mean, they look good on the power play. They just didn't really score. But this is the matchup. Like they're not going against Vegas. They're not going against the Blues. You know what I mean? So like going against like the depth of the Coyotes, like if there's any time for them to do it, this is the time.
Right. And they don't, and on a 5-game slate, they don't need to go nuclear, right? Like 2 goals is way more than enough. So yeah, let's go Anaheim 2. I'm in on that. Anything else from this game?
Let me see. Gibson, 7,400.
Yeah, he's my favorite goalie of the night.
Yeah, if he's going to keep being priced like that, you got to plug him in. He's I think like to me he's a top 5 goal in the NHL, and he's the most underrated goal in the NHL just because of the team around him. Like he gets hung out to dry like every night, and he keeps them in the game. So, but that's an argument for another time. Like I'll just get angry. So
yeah. Okay, fair enough. Just noticed we have a super chat in YouTube from Clayton, and he asks, with the top stacks tool, are you more focused on ownership or leverage, or are those not standalone numbers? I know for me personally, I like to focus more on ownership because like I have my ranks personally where I think ownership is going to be before I even check Awesemo. And then I like to kind of like contrast them between what I think, what Awesemo and what our ownership projections think. That's what I do. Like I don't focus a whole lot on leverage because like 3-man stacks aren't super common. Like people, they'll break the stack or add a defenseman or something like that. So like for me, it's ownership more than leverage. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, especially for depth lines, I pay more attention to ownership. Like Matthews, he's going to get ownership. Toronto one's going to get ownership. Like stuff like that. Like there's probably not going to be much leverage there. There's going to be a lot of ownership, et cetera. But like, if we're talking about like the example we used before, like Sam Bennett, like if he's going to be 15%, like, yeah, I'm paying attention to that because I'm not playing a 1,500 or 15% Sam Bennett on the road in a bad matchup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So pay attention. They're both important, but pay attention to ownership more than anything. All right. Well, we got another game to hit here. Pretty important game. Repeat No, this isn't a repeat game. I get these all confused so often. We have Minnesota with a 2.3 implied goal total going into Colorado. Colorado currently sporting a 3.2 implied goal total. Those haven't moved throughout the day, neither has the line. Brandon Saad is expected to miss the game tonight. Congratulations to him. Him and his wife are having a baby. I guess his wife is having the baby, technically speaking. He's going to be out. Matt Calvert jumps up to line 2 for Colorado. Gabriel Landeskog back to line 1. So old Colorado 1 back together. We saw, I just want to note that Connor Timmins and Bowen Byram really didn't play a lot in their last game. They're down like 11, 12, 13. I think Byram played like 14 or 15 minutes. So it seems like the young guys are kind of getting pushed down like we thought they might, but they're still in the lineup. I think there's going to be, even though Minnesota only has a 2.4 implied goal total, I think there's going to be interest on both sides here. So what are you seeing, Josh?
Yeah, I agree. I really like the Avs top line tonight. They're going to avoid the Joel Eriksson Ek line for the most part. I mean, they probably will see something like that. They send out McKinnon against whoever, but like I would imagine for at least a good chunk of the game, they're going to get the Victor Rask, Zuccarello, Kaprizov line, which, Victor Rask doesn't really do much for me. And McKinnon's one of those matchup-proof lines where you can just really put him against anybody, and this isn't a super good defensive line anyway. So, yeah, I'm in on the Avs. I like the Avs power play. I like the Avs top line. Like I was saying before, if you do power play the Avs, the top line with Kadri and Makar, you're kind of leaving yourself needing some of these really cheap players on the Kings, the Ducks, even the Rangers, something like that. So, like, if you're comfortable putting in these cheap players, I think, the Avs onslaught is a way to go. And on the Minnesota side, this Kadri line is probably going to go see a good deal of the Joel Eriksson Ek line. And that definitely favors the Minnesota Wild here. Fiala is 7,100, so that's an interesting decision you're going to have to make. But like Greenway is under 4,000, so it makes it a bit more like palpable to put them all in. They're all power play 1. They kind of split their power play time up a little bit, so I think that's okay. That second line, which was on the optimal lineup on Monday, Victor Rask, Zuccarello, Kaprizov, all power play 2. They're super cheap. I would imagine they're going to get some inflated ownership just because of what Zuccarello did the last game. And if that's the case, I want to be underweight, especially because they're going to get a good deal of the McKinnon line. So for me, it's Colorado 1, Colorado power play, and this Eriksson Ek Fiala line. And then I don't mind Spurgeon 4,200 over Suter 4,300. I think they're both on power play 1, which kind of sucks. I don't really like the power plays with 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, but if you want to put in Dumba 4,900 power play 2, I think that's okay as a one-off as well.
Yeah, before I jump into this, I'm glad you brought up Jared Spurgeon because I was actually looking at him writing about something else earlier today. He's shooting 0% on the season. Did you know his shooting percentage is like 9% over the last 5 years? It is crazy. Like he's shooting better than Jeff Carter or something like that. It is bananas. And anyway, Spurgeon has 0 goals on the year, so obviously that's going to turn itself around at some point. It's just a matter of when he does it. He seems selective with his shooting. Like honestly, he doesn't put up 2 shots per game, and he scores double-digit goals almost every year. It's crazy. Anyways, I like Spurgeon tonight a lot too. But getting to the game, I'm with you, agreeing completely on Colorado. We did our first ownership run actually had McKinnon, I think in like the mid 20s, and Landeskog and Rantanen in like mid to high teens. Our latest ownership run actually pushed them down. Every player under 20%, and Landeskog coming in between 11 and 12%. So like, if that 3-man trio comes in at like a third of the ownership of Toronto 1 or whatever, or it'll be close. Like, I'm pretty in on that Colorado top line. So I'm with you. Colorado 1, Colorado power play. Absolutely love that stack here tonight. We have them as a good leverage spot according to our top stacks tool over on Awesemo.com. So I'm with you on them. Like you said, it is hard. They are expensive, but there are ways to get cheaper, right? Like you can leave off Rantanen and throw on Kadri. to keep that 4-man power play stack, and you'll save over $2,000. You can leave off Landeskog, save $1,000. You can do, and we've talked about cheaper stacks across the slate. Anaheim 2, Minnesota 2, I'd say, is one that you can probably fit in. We're talking Rangers 2, Flyers 3. Like, there are spots you can go here. So I absolutely love Colorado top line tonight. Highest ownership for me. Actually, I should say neck and neck with Toronto 1, the Toronto power play. So all about Colorado 1 for me tonight. I'm not in so much on the Minnesota top line. Like, I know what you're saying. I think they will get a decent matchup against the Colorado second line, but I honestly think, like, Matt Calvert's a good defensive winger. Like, I think he's going to help that line a bit. Like, he's going to hurt that line offensively, but he's going to help them a lot defensively, I think. So, like, I wouldn't begrudge anybody for using Minnesota 1, because if I'm not mistaken, we have them coming in at very low ownership tonight, 2%. By our top stacks tool. So I would certainly not begrudge anybody using Minnesota 1 for ownership reasons on a 5-game slate. They're just not in my mix personally here tonight. So that's where I am. I do like Kakinen. I think $7,000, like, there's really only one other goalie in that range that I want to use tonight. So if you don't want to use the Quick, I think it's going to be Quick starting. We'll talk about that in a minute. If you don't want to, so if you don't want to use Quick or Peterson or worry about that price difference or whatever, I'm fine with Kakinen. I don't think Kakinen, he's been confirmed. Okay. All right. That's about it for me on this game. Do you have anything else you want to mention?
I'm just out on Grubauer, just price related. I'm not going to pay $8,500 for a goalie, and with these new scoring, like with the arbitrary bonuses, like, he needs a shutout to hit value and probably be on the top lineup. It's possible, but I don't want to pay the $8,500 to find out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do not want to find out that way either. All right. Before we get to the final game of the night, just like to let everybody know that we have a new Twitter account, Awesemo NHL. So just head to Twitter, Awesemo NHL, all one word. That's our new Twitter account if you want to catch our articles when our videos drop. Sometimes there's breaking news, just a lot of good information and all the goings on for the NHL stuff we have here at Awesemo. So check out Awesemo NHL. And if you check out our main account, Awesemo_com, C-O-M, we're almost at 30,000 followers, and we need you to follow us at Awesemo_com to help us get to 30,000 followers. And when we do, we're going to be giving away 30 free weekly passes. So for your chance to win a free weekly pass here at Awesemo.com, follow our Twitter account. That is at Awesemo_com over on Twitter. And I'd like to remind everybody that if you're not able to watch any of our shows here on YouTube, almost all of them are available through the Awesemo Podcast Network. We've got a podcast for every sport, and we're available on every major platform. So head over to Awesemo.com/podcast to check out the latest. Leave a 5-star review, pretty please, on one of our podcasts for a chance to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Good luck. Please sign up for our Awesemo podcast. All right. Getting to our last game of the night, where we feature a very interesting line that I can't wait to talk about. The Los Angeles Kings, 2.5 goal total, going into St. Louis to face the Blues, a 3.0 implied goal total. Like I said, Jonathan Quick still not confirmed. I suspect he'll start, though. He's been pretty good of late, going up.
Confirmed, actually.
Has he?
I'm not positive. DraftKings has a probable next to his name.
I don't like to rely on DraftKings.
Yes,
for those types of things. I mean, they just had Adam Bachfist as a winger a couple nights ago.
That's true.
Okay, so we'll just say that if you're planning on playing the Los Angeles goalie, put in Quick because he's $200 more expensive than Peterson over on DraftKings. So you'll be able to swap down and not worry about the salary. Jordan Binnington going for the Blues. The Blues still have a litany of injuries. Schwartz, Tarasenko, Thomas, Bozak, Parayko, was it Gunnarsson just had surgery, so they're missing 5 guys out of their top 9, their top defenseman, and another starting defenseman. So new lines. Sammy Blais, top line with O'Reilly and Perron. Jordan Kyrou back down to the second line with Schenn and Hoffman. What do you like here, Josh?
So I was hoping Kyrou would stick up on the top line, the Blues, and Sammy Blais would be on the second line. I mean, it doesn't make a huge difference defensively, but I was writing up this game earlier this morning, and I was looking at Jordan Binnington's numbers, right? So he has a .921 save percentage on the season, which on paper looks really good. But then if you dive into his high danger save percentage, he's one of the worst in the NHL at like .824, something like that. So like, yeah, he's saving the cupcakes from the the blue line, but if you're getting in deep on him and you're driving to the net, yeah, he struggles mightily. So I kind of like this Kings second line tonight. It's just like you have to find if you're using these expensive lines, you're gonna have to find these secondary lines that fit in. And you look at Gabe Vilardi and Jeff Carter, like the past 4 games, they've been a point a game player. Like, yeah, that's not gonna stick going like the rest of the season, but like they've been producing. Vilardi has been coming into his own a bit. Carter, he's older now, but he looks a little bit more rejuvenated than he did at the beginning of the season, like when they were just getting run over. So I think like they're on power play too. They're gonna get the Braden Schenn, Mike Hoffman, Kyrou line. Like Schenn's okay, but like Hoffman is a good offensive player, but he's not great defensively. Kyrou's kind of still an unknown. Like he's a good offensive player, he's probably not the best defensively. So I think with the Kopitar O'Reilly going against each other, they kind of cancel each other out, and you got to look to the secondary stuff here. And I really like this Vilardi Carter combo. If you want to put in Sean Walker with them, he's 2,600. Like Sean Walker just came back and he didn't play a lot of minutes last game, but he's 2,600. He does get a little bit of time on that second power play. If you need somewhere down there, that's okay. So yeah, LA Kings 2 for me is a line that I definitely want some of. LA 1, St. Louis 1. I don't really like going against O'Reilly and Perron. I don't really like going against Kopitar, but in MME, I would probably still have some just for, like Sammy Blais, isn't the best defense. Like you look at their full line, like they have a 122-minute sample as a line probably in the past year or two, and their defensive numbers really aren't that great. Like they have a 2.3 expected goals against, which is below league average, 10 high danger chances against per 60. Maybe Blais is coming to his own a bit, so those numbers stabilize a little bit, but I wouldn't mind taking shots on LA 1 or St. Louis 1 in MME.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Los Angeles 1 because I did sneak them into a lineup. You're right that those numbers aren't good. And Parayko's still out, right? Like he is their best defensive defenseman, and it's not even close. So, like you said, Binnington bad with high danger chances, Parayko out. Like it's not a great matchup for the Kopitar line, but it's one that they probably can take advantage of. But I am with you. I like Jeff Carter night, baby. Actually looking at that line stats, Vilardi, Kempe, and Carter, we're up to almost 60 minutes together, which is about the spot where like at about 50 minutes is when I start to kind of pay attention to line stats. They're at almost 60 minutes. I mean, 54% expected goals share, 2.2 expected goals for per 60 minutes. Like not great. These aren't world beaters, but they're good numbers, especially for a second line that is super cheap in a good spot. Like they absolutely ran over the St. Louis second line when they played a couple nights ago. Like the St. Louis second line, I think their expected goal share was like 25% or something like that. Like they got absolutely just choked out of that game. Carter had an assist and 5 shots. Like you're right about Jeff Carter. He looks better this year than he's looked in like 3 years, honestly. Like I don't know what it is. Maybe that super long layoff just helped him heal some nagging injuries or whatever. But you're right. He just looks like a great player. I mean, the shot volume alone, like I said, Carter hit the shot bonus in his last game, but he's up to 53 shots in 17 games, which is over 3 shots a game, playing only 17 minutes a night. He's not playing 21 minutes a night. Like there's lots of shot volume. Adrian Kempe, he's a good playmaker, good defensively. Like I think this is a good matchup for Anaheim. Like St. Louis second line numbers without Jaden Schwartz there have been a disaster, and it hasn't mattered who it's been. Like Kyrou and Schenn with whomever, it's just been a complete disaster. Whether it's been Blais or whether it's been Hoffman or whether it doesn't matter. They've just been bad. So again, it's just a function of the way that my lineups are being built tonight. Like there are super expensive lines I want to use, which means there are super cheap lines that I have to fit in. This is probably one of the best spots to use a second line, like I said, because that St. Louis second line probably won't be very good, especially with that top defense pair off the ice. So yeah, I love LA2 tonight. Not in on St. Louis 1. St. Louis 2, like they're expensive, man. Like if you want to 3-man stack them, it's over 17K. And like once you get to 17K, like you're not using Colorado, you're not using Toronto. Like I guess you can use, like you may not even be able to use Flyers power play because Provorov and Van Riemsdyk are both over 6K. Like if you decide to use that St. Louis second line, you're limiting yourself to like, I guess you might be able to stick in Rangers 1 or like Flames 2 or like a broken Arizona 1 or something like that. Like there just aren't a lot of spots where that price range is bringing their lineup into my mix. So like I'm fairly out on St. Louis 1 and St. Louis 2 here tonight. Vinny, our boy Vinny Dunn, 20 minutes again last game. He's playable PP2 for 3,900. On the other side, like I like Matt Roy for 3,200. He can shoot, he can block shots. Pretty cheap defenseman to use. You said Sean Walker, he's on PP2. I don't mind using that as well. I'm not in on either of these third lines. Like Lazard and Grunstrom haven't looked very good, but I also don't feel too comfortable slamming in a bunch of Sundqvist and Sanford when Velarde and Carter are basically the same price, right?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing, like, if you want even lower ownership, you could go Sundqvist and Sanford because, like, the Lazat line's been getting absolutely absolutely run over. So, like, if you want, like, lower ownership in this game, you can throw in a Sundqvist, Sanford, Dunn 3-man, like, if you really want to, just because, like, it's not like even a product of, like, these guys are great. It's just that the Kings' third line is so bad defensively.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we should be clear here. It's not Sundqvist and Sanford are great. It's that line is bad. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad we cleared that up. And I'm going to add some Jonathan Quick, 7,100, especially where you can correlate. It'll just bring down that average cost even more. All right. We're getting towards the end of the show. Josh, do you have a favorite stack here tonight that you want to tell the listeners about that is not Toronto 1 or Colorado 1?
It's always the one we just talked about, right?
You really like Colorado tonight, eh?
No, I was going to say LA too, but we just talked about them. So I'm going to say like Anaheim 2 or 3, as disgusting as that is. Like I like this spot tonight.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go Philly 2. I'm gonna probably kind of chalky-ish, but I don't know how that Rangers depth handles the Philly depth here tonight. Like they just don't have the horses to do it. Maybe Shesterkin steps up. I suppose he always could. Who's your favorite goalie on the slate?
Whoever starts for the Kings and Gibson.
Okay, I'll say John Gibson as well. All right, that'll do it for us today. Once again, if you could like and subscribe before heading off, that would help us a lot. Ding the little bell if you want to get notified whenever we do have a show coming on. We have another show coming your way tomorrow. Jake will be back in the driver's seat, and I'll be here as his analyst. It is a nice little 10-game slate, so you can join us here 3 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow for Josh and for our producer, Tyler, Michael Clifford, a.k.a. Slim Cliffy. Good luck tonight, everybody.
Have a good one.